The concept is exactly like Rick and Morty.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah. If you are a fan of Rick and Morty, then you would notice it very clearly, especially in an episode where Rickest Rick fights against other Ricks.
Oh, gosh.
That's not what I wanted out of this.
It's a blatant copy-paste, and I'm sure people who didn't watch or know about Rick and Morty would be fascinated by this movie. But for the Rick and Morty fans, it was really cringeworthy.
Ugh.
All us true Ricks.
This is very cringe.
Oh, I saw this. I was like, yeah, it's the one.
You think this person has any Rick and Morty sweatpants they wear?
Probably has Rick and Morty boxers.
Probably.
You know, the show's fine if it weren't for the fans.
That's probably a lot of shows, actually. That applies to.
That is a 1-star review from IMDb. Hello, everyone, and welcome. We are Spoilers Intended, a podcast about series and films. Don't you laugh over there. I'm Steven, joined as always by Andrew.
Hello.
And Ryan.
And welcome.
And welcome.
I faded into the multiverse.
I just want to make it hard for Ryan to edit this where he's like, why does that fade down?
I didn't fade that.
I didn't do this. Oh, if the Rick and Morty references didn't give it away. No, we're not talking about Rick and Morty. We're here to talk about Spider-Man Across the Spiderverse.
Yeah.
The latest intro into the Spider-Man Spiderverse trilogy. How do you even...
It's a trilogy.
Oh, no, it is a trilogy. I'm not questioning that. I'm questioning what do you call it? Is
Andrew, that was the most NPR pop-it. It's a trilogy. Yes. That was in the sentence he said before.
Is it the Spider-Verse trilogy? Is that what we go with?
Spider-Verse trilogy.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, because it's not the Spider-Man trilogy.
So this is like SV2?
I guess, yeah.
Okay, so now we're talking about abbreviations. I don't know. I didn't sign off on any of that. But we can call it SV2 if we need to.
SV2, sure.
Either way, it's the second entry in the trilogy.
I mean,
If we can have three, we can have SV2, I suppose.
Yeah, I've been calling it Spider-Verse 2. So.
Okay.
I mean,
That's what I've been
Spider-Verse
calling
is
it,
in the title.
Yes.
It feels pretty safe, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to call it Spider-Man because then everyone's going to be like, what, Toby? Garfield?
Holland?
Like, who is it? No, it's the other one. You missed one.
You know, Miles Morales.
Right.
Yeah.
But seeing as how we're listing off a whole bunch of other Spider-Men,
Yes.
we thought it would be appropriate because, in case you haven't seen the trailer, there are an absolute smorgasbord, a plethora, if you will, of spider peoples.
Spider peoples.
Spider creatures.
Spide-eye?
Spidlers? I don't know. How does this work? But there are a lot of spider creatures
Yes.
on display in this film, even very brief cameos all the way to important plot specific characters.
Yeah.
Sure.
We're going to avoid that second part here because we don't want to spoil you this early. Yet.
Oh, but we're going to later.
We're going to. We thought it'd be fun to talk about who is your favorite spider character
Spider-person.
that we've seen so far.
Character.
I don't think person's right. We got like
It's
Spider
not,
Ham.
yeah,
That's
you're
not
right.
a person. That's
right.
Yeah, spider character.
spider character.
Yes.
Okay.
Spider being. That's the term.
Spider
That's
being.
the term
It
we
was
use.
right there all
Spider
along.
being. We used for the first one, which we have a review of the first one. If you want to go in the Wayback Machine.
Yeah, that was one of our first
That was
reviews.
like one of
That was
the
like
third
10 years ago,
third
probably.
episode or something like that. Not exactly right.
Yeah.
Not
Okay,
exactly,
sorry.
But feels like it sometimes.
Sometimes. When
Anyways.
you're in a room with these two
This
guys,
episode already
it
feels 10 years
feels
long,
like it's been
okay?
10 years
We got to get
long.
on to it, boys. Let's move it on.
Okay, well, with that urging here, let's Andrew, who is your favorite spider being?
I think I remembered mentioning this in the first
probably did.
in the first episode, but I really like Penny Parker. I'm a big fan of mecha, just the genre in general.
Anime,
I love,
Japan.
anime. I love Evangelion.
I didn't know this about you.
Well, no.
It was unknowable. Ryan with a snort.
A snort, the rare snort.
Spider Ham coming in hot here.
So Penny Parker is more of like she doesn't even have her own comic. She's just in the Spider-Verse comics, and she really only has like 1 or 2 pages of like content, and it's really just kind of talking about her backstory. And then there's a small cameo of Asuka and Rey from Evangelion, which is basically what her whole shtick is kind of based on. So
in the comics, there's
so
an
you're
actual
saying
cameo?
She's like a Shinji getting the robot type of
a
character.
little bit. So basically, the way it
Getting
works
the robot kid.
and if you've seen Across or Into the Spider-Verse, the
first one.
the first one,
SV1.
then you do get the backstory here. But basically, she basically can psychically connect to basically a radioactive sentient spider.
Just a spider.
Yeah,
Who very squishable.
Controls basically a mecha that her father developed. Her father gets killed mysteriously, and then she gets adopted.
It was the spider all along.
She gets adopted by Aunt May and Uncle Ben. So in her universe, they're the ones that are taking care of her, and it's not that she loses Uncle Ben. And so then she becomes, kind of like she has to willfully get bitten by the spider so she can have the psychic connection with it. And her and the spider both power the mecha.
robot.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and it's pretty cool. It's very anime, obviously.
Sure.
She's styled that way. And in Into the Spider-Verse, I love the design of her mech. It's just really, really cool because it has kind of like the faces that change and everything. And at the end of that film, she essentially is going to get a new one.
Yeah.
Just because of events that happen.
Plot points that we're not going to
Yeah,
spoil.
we're not going to spoil, But
but she's gonna get a new mech.
If you're here listening to the thing about the second, I don't know. Did you not see the first? I can't help you at this point.
So her first appearance was in Edge of Spider-Verse #5 in 2014. And so her abilities are Spider Sense, Genius Intellect, Psychic Connection with SPDR, which is the mecha, and then Superhuman Strength, Psychic Connection with Penny. Oh, and Spider's abilities are Superhuman Strength and a Psychic Connection with Penny. So there you go. I like her. I just like her design a lot. I just think I just like the cool concept because it's obviously a twist on one of my favorite genres, and then it just adds a little bit more to it because it's Spider-Man, and I love Spider-Man in general. Tobey Maguire is my favorite. I know I've talked about this multiple times with No Way Home. So,
All right, Ryan.
I'm gonna go with Ben Reilly.
Yeah.
Now the reason, multiple reasons.
Rob
Okay.
Liefeld, however you say his name.
Liefeld. I don't know. Ben Reilly. So when I read Spider-Man comics, I read
flex my muscles. They're
right up
very well defined.
Yeah. First off, in this movie, he's incredible, and getting Andy Samberg to play him was perfect. But in the comics, his actual first appearance was in 1975 in Amazing Spider-Man 149, and he's introduced and killed in the same issue. Right?
Oh wow!
And then he returns and comes back in the 1994 through 96 Clone Saga.
So is this like a somehow Ben Reilly returned moment here?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think at some point there was a Marvel reset, like the Infinity War.
It's comics.
Yeah, like something happened,
come back.
and they probably just brought this dude back. But the Clone Saga happened after Maximum Carnage, and Maximum Carnage was like my jam. That was like the crossover event.
I think that was like one of my first Spider-Man comics was the Maximum Carnage.
I remember like the covers for that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was huge. It was like that was the big Marvel event for like that early '90s or whatever. And so after that, they tried to do the Clone Saga, and so Ben Reilly is a clone of Peter Parker. He was grown in a lab by the Jackal, and basically he's like tasked with like fighting him, but then they become friends, and then he's like whatever. But the reason I remember is because he took over as Spider-Man for a little bit when Peter Parker like walked away, and the costume design they had for that specific, not the one that appears in this movie with the Scarlet Spider outfit with the blue.
I really like that design.
Yeah, it's a really good design.
It shows off every muscle.
That came in later.
Well-defined muscle.
The original, the one I remember is it's the spider logo basically stretches over his whole costume.
Yeah.
It looks really cool.
Kind of like Spider-Man 2099.
Similar, yeah, but
yeah.
like it's like a mix between that and like the original Spider-Man outfit. So it's like the best of both worlds. And I remember as a kid in the 90s, I was like, that's hot stuff. I like that costume.
I like those muscles.
Yeah, and then so I started reading, and like the biggest thing I took away from it was like he was very emo.
Making something in me.
What am I feeling about these muscles? Yeah. So yeah, Ben Reilly, I was really excited to see him in when he made the appearance in this one, because he was one of those like throwaway, forgotten, like to me. And again, I'm not trying to anger any Ben Reilly comics fans out there who are like, Ben Reilly's my guy. at the time, I just remember him because of the cool suit.
Yeah.
And then reading it, being like, this guy's kind of emo.
This is actually kind of hard to
I
read.
don't know if I'm really vibing with this guy. And that's around the time I quit reading, comics was later mid-90s.
So his recommendation here, or his choice here, is the person who made
Ben
him
Reilly,
stop reading
he made me
comics.
dip out. Yeah. No, it was various other reasons was happening at the same time. But yeah, I just remember him because of the suit. And then later the Scarlet Spider suit, which he has in this one. So yeah, he's my pick. I think he is a lot of fun.
He was a lot of fun in the film.
Yeah, they turned a
for
character.
the short period of time that he's in it. He was a lot of fun.
fun with
it was what they did with him that was like,
Yeah.
oh man, this is great. So that's mine. Steven, what's yours?
Okay, well, I'm just like Andrew. I'm reaching back into the first here for most of the material. Spider-Man Noir.
Yeah.
I have had zero exposure to this character prior to the first
Into the
Spider-Verse
yeah.
film. Oh my gosh, I love this character. Just again, they brought Nicolas Cage in to voice him, which was just chef's kiss, perfect call for what he's doing. But just like the whole where'd that wind come from? Wherever I go, the wind follows.
And it's covered by rain.
Yeah, every line he gets is great. But the general concept, right, which was kind of he was part of the Marvel Noir run.
Yeah.
So it was like a push back towards like the Great Depression. It's back doing kind of like your gumshoe detective, private investigator, which is already a theme I really like.
Yeah.
Anyways, but that is.
Cowboy Bebop's one of your favorite
Oh,
shows.
what do you know?
Who would have guessed?
You never would have seen that coming. There's a specific episode in there too. It's almost like it was the only episode of the live action series that was decent. We're like, hey, they tried.
I don't even know if I made it that far.
You probably did.
You missed a little bit, not a lot,
Not a lot.
but a little bit as a treat. But yeah, Spider-Man Noir is just great from the also just because again they play with this a lot throughout the film. We're going to get into this when we get into the second Spider-Verse film, where we talked about all the different art styles, right? At the time, his was probably the most obviously conflicting art style in the first movie, just because he's black and white and nobody else is black and white, which is, again, fun. And then they've taken that theme and really expanded it since in maybe an insane manner.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Maybe a little much.
I don't know about a little much, but
well, we're going to get into it. But first, let's
first.
get some background info.
Let's do it.
Little factoids. Oh, I should have a summary. I didn't have a summary ready. Ryan, find me a summary.
I already have stuff pulled up.
He's already
Find me
got
a
it.
summary while I give off some basic info.
Yeah, go for it.
So this film is starring, I'm going to butcher some names here. Apologies in advance. Shameik Moore, Haley Steinfeld, Brian Tyree Henry, Luna Lauren Velez, Jake Johnson, Oscar Isaac, Jason Schwartzman, and a whole host of cameos, one of which Ryan's already given away.
No regrets.
All right, so here we go.
Go for it. Summary.
After reuniting with Gwen Stacy, Brooklyn's full-time friendly neighborhood Spider-Man is catapulted across the multiverse, where he encounters a team of spider people charged with protecting its very existence. However, when the heroes clash on how to handle a new threat, Miles finds himself pitted against the other spiders. Spider-Men, spider people.
Spider beings.
Spider Beast.
He must soon redefine what it means to be a hero so he can save the people he loves the most.
Perfect. So this was directed by Joaquin Dos Santos. Joaquin.
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 I just wanted to butcher names. So he's probably best known for his work. He worked on Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Oh.
Not the live action.
The
The animated, and also the Legend of Korra.
that was Shyamalan.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. But he also worked on the Legend of Korra as well.
Shanana did it.
Yeah.
So he basically went from Avatar to Korra. So
To
he's
Korra,
like,
right? He also produced Voltron: The Legendary Defender, the Netflix reboot.
That's
and
a really good show.
Directed a couple episodes there.
Yeah.
So he's got some experience with animation.
He's got some bona fides on the
so
animation
this is
side.
Also directed by Kemp Powers, who's credited as co-director and writer on Pixar's Soul.
Oh, okay.
Pretty
Interesting.
good credits.
Yeah, Soul's a good film.
And then we have a third co-director, Justin K. Thompson, who is credited with production design on Into the Spider-Verse and both of the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs films.
Oh, honestly, the first Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs
pretty
is
good.
really good.
It's
I've never
pretty
seen
good.
it.
Yeah.
Is it pretty good?
There's some really good comedy in there.
Nice. I'll check it out.
So as maybe something to look forward to, all three are slated to direct Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse. That's the third film coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I
So who
definitely-
directed the first Spider-Verse film?
That's a great question.
I'll find it.
Someone
Hold
should
on.
look that up.
I got it.
It's not me. So this is written by Phil Lord,
Lord and Miller, right?
Yeah. So, and also Christopher Miller.
Yeah.
So they were writers on the Lego Movie and also producers of the first Spider-Verse. We also have Dave Callahan is credited as well here. So he was the writer for Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings, or he was a writer.
Okay.
All right, so Into the Spider-Verse was directed by 3 people. Bob Paraschetti,
Okay.
Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rotham.
Okay. So it's 3 totally different
Rothman,
people, and none of those names did anything for me. I don't know. There's probably somebody out there listening. But Peter was so
I feel
good
like
doing whatever.
This is one of the animated movies we've done recently where there's like multiple directors attached to it. So I wonder with animation if it's like
I think that the content just in these films is so dense that having 3 directors probably is a good thing.
or do you think it's like one dude does the action scenes, one dude does the emotional scenes, one guy does like the overall.
Could be, yeah,
like the main blocking
the big look,
bits,
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, that's a good point. Or if it's certain, like, does one person handle this universe? Is one person responsible for this universe?
yeah.
or something like that? I don't
could
know.
be something like that.
So we're going to get into that once we get past the spoiler wall and some of the sheer numbers involved
Different places
in
they
this
go.
production. It's not that. It's the production itself.
Oh, gotcha.
So music is by Daniel Pemberton. So he composed. Oh wow! Thank you, iPad, for correcting that. At least I know what it means. So he was the composer for the Enola Holmes.
Okay.
Movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
It auto-corrected that to Ebola. Also composed for The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Like that wasn't a great movie, but it wasn't Ebola levels bad. Come on, that's fine.
The Man from U.N.C.L.E. and the Steve Jobs biopic, and also I put this on here because I know Andrew's gonna like it. Being the Ricardos.
Oh,
the composer
man,
for
that was a
that.
fantastic film.
Yeah, he really liked that.
I still haven't watched that one.
There was a lot of, I'll say, exaggeration for some of like the timelines
Right.
of when stuff was happening.
Yeah.
But overall, honestly, I loved it. I thought it was pretty fantastic. I grew up on I Love Lucy with my mom.
Didn't we all?
And fun fact, my grandfather, my mom's father,
Was Lucille Ball?
no, he
how that works.
photographed Lucille Ball and Desi
Against your
Liu
will.
and
Yeah, he was the first paparazzi.
but yeah, so he had a studio in Manhattan at the time, and in like the 1940s and 50s and stuff, and that like he did a lot of like portraits of them and Duke Ellington and a bunch of like really big names at the time.
Cool.
That's really cool.
Can you get us prints real quick? or-
I know, right?
Yeah, we're super easy.
Yeah.
If
okay.
only. So let's look at some numbers here. So box office as of opening weekend was 120.5 million domestic,
Okay.
with a global total of 208 million.
That's pretty good.
So that makes it the
Respectable, yeah.
second largest animated opening of the year.
Only second to Mario.
I mean, Mario's
Super Mario
here.
Brothers.
yeah, unless you want to count Avatar, but that was last year, so you know whatever.
That doesn't count. No. Also, is it really? I guess it is animated.
It's
It's mostly animated at this
70%
point.
animated,
Yeah.
yeah.
So for comparison's sake, Into the Spider-Verse only made 25.4 million domestically on its opening weekend.
No, I think
Really?
Well,
Yeah.
no, I don't think that's really a knock against it. Just because
Well, it was so
an animated Spider-Man
Different
film,
and unexpected.
and it was one of those things where it didn't get a lot of buzz until behind the scenes,
Until it started really,
until it got through. Now everyone was ready for it.
I guess my perception of that was so weird because I was there opening weekend for the first one, like excited about
I
it.
didn't see it in
even
theaters.
hear about it until it came to like Prime, and then
Netflix
I
or
watched
whatever,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So-
So you didn't even know it existed
Didn't
when
know
it hit
it
theaters?
existed.
Yeah, I didn't know what it was.
Wow, that's blowing. I saw like so many trailers for this. I was like, yeah, they're like opening
Yeah.
weekend
Like, as
ready
soon as
to go.
I saw any pieces of it, I was like, "Oh, that's really cool." You know, I want to watch it.
Like
but-
the second I saw the first frame of the first trailer, I was like, ooh.
So like we didn't know about it, and only reason I was like even interested because we've watched a behind the scenes video on YouTube for it of the directors, and I'm like, this looks fantastic. I have to watch this. I like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And then we
Yeah.
watched it, and I was like, this was like one of the most mind blowing animation experiences I've ever had. Like it's like watching Akira. Like
Oh yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Into the Spider-Verse, the first one, finished its global run at 384.3 million. So the opening weekend of Spider-Verse 2 is already
Almost halfway.
2/3 of the way
Yeah, or
there.
2/3, yeah.
It's halfway,
Yeah.
2/3. It's getting there. So obviously, the first Spider-Verse, it was not maybe the most financially successful venture, but it was very well critically received, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Huge acclaim, and I think it's had good play since then. As we're kind of demonstrating where 1/3 of us saw it in theater, the other 2/3 picked it up
well,
later.
and just to bring it back to our episode that we did review on it. This was back when we did actual scores. That was our highest scored
film that we
period.
Did.
Yeah.
By not a huge margin, but
it was wide enough.
Yeah. So going into budgets, right? So Spider-Verse 2 had $100 million budget.
Okay.
Which is not bad.
That's same as Mario.
About par for the course. Yeah, Mario had a better return so far.
Well,
but
it's Mario.
Which it's a slight increase. So Into the Spider-Verse, the first one was $90 million.
Mm-hmm. So that's not a big
jump though.
It's not much of a jump.
It's probably inflation.
Basically, yeah. But we are seeing potentially a much bigger return.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which me personally, I love to see because I want to see other studios. We're seeing it coming up here this summer with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I want to see other studios do something with CGI that isn't just the plasticky round shapes and has more style on it, right?
I think that Into the Spider-Verse is what broke
open that up,
that opportunity for these animation studios to really push.
For sure, yeah.
Because before that, there was just nothing like it. And watching Into the Spider-Verse for the first time was just like this eye-opening experience. I kind of like... analog equivalent to Akira. It's a different style of film.
Totally different movie.
Yeah, there's no real comparison except for the feeling.
Yeah. Like, because you're watching something that's just so different and so high quality that you just can't get enough of it.
It was the first CG animated movie I'd seen in a long time that floored me and impressed me. Because it was like... I'm trying to think of what some other Pixar obviously has some good stuff here and there, but it's very
it's always, it looks the same. It's just, this is really well animated.
The emotion,
there's some stuff they do that's
emotional core there for them is what really makes it. It's not just that they did something cool.
Mm-hmm. But I remember when I came out of the theater, I was just I felt like I had seen, like you're saying, something that was a milestone in animation, achievements. It was just incredible. Yeah.
Okay, well, now that we've gushed a little bit about Into the Spider-Verse, give me some spoiler-free thoughts here on Across the Spider-Verse.
I think it's an incredible achievement in animation. I loved it.
So going into this film, I think there was just such a high bar to set because Into the Spider-Verse was a fantastic film.
Oh, yeah.
I honestly think this tops it.
I'm going to go out with you on that same limb. Let's crawl out there together.
Yeah.
I love Into the Spider-Verse, the first movie. I do think I like this one better.
I think this one's better.
It's very good. They're both very, very good.
This is a difficult... You're going to places that I can't follow, I think.
We're on this... Come out, Steven. It'll break with three of us on this.
The problem for me isn't that it's not a good film, right? This is a phenomenal film.
Yeah.
And at minimum, it's on the same level as Into the Spider-Verse, right? At its low bar.
Yeah.
For me, I think the issue here is the first one was such a revolution, like a turning point. Like we're talking about, this opened up so much for them that it's hard to capture that same level of feeling.
I mean, I can agree there. Yeah,
and I don't know if they necessarily did anything in this film that was another
that was like a groundbreaking
I
experience.
think that they pushed stuff a lot. They tried a lot of stuff.
For sure. Yeah.
And again, the deeper we get into this, the more we're going to get into that. But it's, again, at minimum, it's as good as the first. And that is, again, for what is
massively
almost a perfect
high bar
film.
Well, especially with, no offense, but Sony Pictures has a good track record of running stuff into the ground and not green lighting good sequels and doing stuff shady, especially with the Spider-Man franchise itself. Into the Spider-Verse was a gamble when they did the first one, we're going to do this animated,
$100 million.
And it's about Miles Morales. It's not about Peter Parker. It's like this essentially a gamble from their perspective.
Well, speaking of Sony Pictures Animation, you want to have a fun fact here? We'll just go and rip this one out here.
Hit me.
This is the first Sony Pictures Animation film to be released exclusively in theaters since The Angry Birds Movie 2 in 2019.
Don't say
What a whiplash, right? Wow. Sony Pictures Animation Studio, Into the Spider-Verse, Across the Spider-Verse, Angry Birds.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, the movie it takes what was good about the first one and it cranks it up to 11 and it just doesn't let go. There's some fantastic action sequences. The animation is spectacular. The art direction is phenomenal, on so many different levels.
Yeah.
There are particularly good parts at the beginning and middle of the film with Gwen Stacy that I'll get into in spoilers. But man, just the color direction in this film was just staggering.
Well, so like the thing that they execute perfectly to me is that they made each different multiverse feel unique without like beating you over the head with like some kind of, explainer of somebody telling you what's weird. You can just see the visual styling in each place looks different and has a different feel to it.
You know where you're at.
Yeah.
Like you don't need an explanation of like what, version of New York you're in or whatever. Like you can tell that it's different.
I loved that like it was one of those sequels where it felt like it trusted you to know the characters from the first movie enough to just take off and start really exploring these characters. And like the dynamic between Miles and his mom, I loved it. And the story, that part of the story, loved it. Gwen's whole section in this movie, I loved it. I also want to shout out the action. I think some of the action in this movie is just phenomenal. Like the blocking, just the pacing of it, the way they edited it, everything is like, it makes you realize that we can do so much more with animation than you can with live action sometimes. And it's like a lot of times when you see a CG film like a DreamWorks or Angry Birds, but like a lot of them, they don't have that. It's like they're not taking advantage of the medium.
They don't have the edge.
Yeah, they don't have that like the action feel. It's like the action's very soft and very like, like Mario Brothers was kind of like that a little bit.
Yeah, they're not taking advantage of the fact that in that medium you can put the camera anywhere. That you couldn't do in live action. I can't physically fit a camera on this dude's arm. To run down it. In animation, I can run down that arm as that punch is being thrown, right?
Well, and that's the thing is like you can take those camera angles and you can put multiple facets of that all in the same shot, which you just don't have the possibility of doing just because of physical limitations of speed and doing all these kind of,
and
like
physics
it's just not possible.
Gravity.
The whole rules of like matter can't both occupy the same area. Just stuff like the small things, no big deal.
Even with the chaotic action, like when there would be like a lot of stuff going on, you could see that like, man, I bet a screenshot of this would be a killer desktop wallpaper.
Well,
you could just see that like the every point along it is like framed really well.
Well, and kind of jumping the gun here for our normal format, but like I want to go and rewatch this film again just so I can slow it down because I know the story now. I don't need
you don't have to worry about the interaction.
You can really dial into like the details.
And look for Easter eggs and that kind of stuff. But the flash frames that they have for this, whenever there's like a good action pose or whatever, they go into the comic style. Then they move into like the frenetic action style that they have really coined with this franchise at this point. Yeah. And the character models are great. Like everything's good.
And again, they do a really good job with like conveying the emotion in those scenes, like with Miles and his mom and other characters. Like you can just see with like the styling of the animation that there's nothing dead-eyed about the characters. You feel because there are definitely some CG movies that try to do the emotional stuff and it's fine. It's not that bad. Let's not go Uncanny Valley all the way back. Tom Hanks is actually in this movie from the Polar Express. It's a weird dimension.
Just in the background cameo.
No, but I thought that was another thing. I always want to tip the hat to the animators when they can nail like just the emotion in with no words being spoken sometimes, you know.
So I got to say, and I said this before now on this cast, that ever since seeing Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness, every other version of Multiverses just does it better.
Right.
It was such a weak effort compared to what this is in terms of not just like what kind of universes can you show me and how quickly can we touch them and see them, but even spending time and taking the different aspects of those universes and making them have impact, especially like with the way the stuff in Gwen's story is animated. We'll get into that deeper on, but they took so many, I don't want to call them risks at this point, because the first one was really where all the risk was taken.
No, it's like they made the right choices.
They're paying off the risk here. And they know what they can and can't get away with. Right, and they're working and playing like right on that edge, right?
Well, and I've said it on this cast before, and I'll repeat it a little bit. Like I liked Multiverse of Madness when I watched it, but it was before I had seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. It was obviously before I saw this movie, and so like every subsequent movie that I see about the multiverse since then has made me go, man, they really didn't do enough in Multiverse of Madness.
That's my thing. Is it was Multiverse of Madness, then Everything Everywhere All at Once. It's like, man, multiverse, what were y'all doing? And then it's like this, and it's like, guys,
because like that's the big problem, and we talk about it in that episode.
Yeah.
But the fact that
just keep plugging the episodes we've done in the past.
in Multiverse of Madness, you just have this moment where you're just like, well, these guys were just on Earth but reskinned.
Well, like you said, things actually have real differences. Whereas here, red beans go, green beans. Okay, nobody cares. Like, come on, Marvel, give me something better than this.
Yeah. So I know we've been guessing. Me and Ryan have been gushing.
We've been gussing.
What about you, Steven?
I mean, I loved it. Right.
Yeah.
I had a total blast in the film. It was more of what I wanted, and they're willing to play with more of the emotional core and get more in depth with these characters that we've already been introduced to. We don't have to be introduced to again.
We don't need their origin story.
Yep.
Yeah,
and we get other origin stories. Like the way the first movie handled it, right, was great. We get similar vein here, where they just give it to you, move on. We all know how this works.
Yeah, but that's the right way to do it, because it's meta, and it also just lets you just have just enough information so you understand where this character is kind of like going.
Right.
Well, this movie does that thing where like they trust the audience enough to like we're going to show you just enough of what you need.
Yeah.
And then from there, you can figure out, you can extrapolate, the rest of the origin story or whatever. What you need to know has been established or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and also they use those opportunities as moments for humor, right? I think that was one thing that got me here was while we do have a pretty heavy subject matter and a lot going on, a lot of action, there's just constant humor. Like moments of good laughter or chuckles or just tension breakers.
Now, I will say though, towards the end of the film, and I can't really talk about it until we get into like spoiler stuff. But there are some moments where the end gets so heavy with emotions, and it really does kind of. It's tough to really find a lot of the humor. A little like really, I'll say like when I say the end of the film, like the last like maybe 15 20 minutes where it's so heavy that when they do kind of tell a joke, it's really hard to like get into it because you're just like you're really stressed out.
Okay, I didn't notice that, but I would like to rewatch it.
It was less that they weren't breaking the tension as well. It was kind of like when you drop a pin on the surface of the water, it kind of bounces with it. It doesn't it just doesn't break through, but it still felt like it fit the flow of the rest of it. It's just me. I've changed at this point, right?
Yeah.
It's not the characters who have changed.
Yeah,
it's
true.
Just, at that time, it's all built up in me, so it doesn't pierce quite as well as it could, right?
Yeah.
Not to just abuse an analogy there. Whatever. So
when you said pin on water, I pictured like a fountain pen, and I was like, what kind of water are you dropping fountain pen? It's not going. Okay, never mind. I got it now.
Well, they make the fountain pens that float, right? Like the NASA pens or whatever. They work underwater.
It's also a boat key float. Yeah. So if you drop your pontoon keys, it'll float right to the top.
When I was a kid, I always thought those things were so cool.
Oh, man, they were awesome. You can sit there and squish it.
Ridiculous.
What's wrong with us?
I had my Nautica boat key float, and I was like, this thing's so cool.
If I ever fall in water, they're
Andrew's
like,
never even been on a body of water before.
There's no water here.
Take it in the bathtub with you. Ha ha!
If I had keys, they'd float because I'm 6. I don't have keys.
Whatever. He's like 21 when this happened.
He's still sitting in the
This was last week.
He's sitting in the tub with his keys, and they're just popping back up at the surface. Yeah, it still works.
Oh, man.
Okay, so we have been gushing about this film. So it's almost kind of pointless to ask this question because you've already answered it once. But would you recommend it? Would you rewatch it?
I would definitely recommend it. I think I would say try to watch the first one before you watch this.
You definitely need a recent viewing, I think.
You definitely need to watch the first one before you see this one.
Yeah, I think they give you a little bit of context in this one to where you could enjoy it.
Probably get through it.
But I would say you're missing out on a lot of the story if you skip the first one and go straight into this. So I would recommend this to anyone that's seen the first one. If you saw the first one, I don't know how you're not in line to go see the second one because it was so
seriously,
good.
Yeah.
Well, now I will say the first like 2 trailers for Across the Spiderverse did not jazz me at all.
Oh, really?
They get you hyped up for it?
I was not hyped for it at all. And then, like I think there was maybe like the one right before the movie came out. And I was like, okay, this looks pretty good. But I was still kind of on the fence. I'm like, there's no way it's going to be as good as the first one.
But do you think that's the trailer's fault? Or were you going into it with like...
It was the trailer's fault. Yeah,
100% the trailer's fault.
And the thing is, what you want out of the movie, they almost can't give you in a trailer because they waste it there, right?
Yeah.
Like they throw it away, and that's not. They just need enough to color flashy lights bring you in the door.
Yeah.
Get in here.
But yeah,
Get in here, nerd. You like Spider-Man.
If you were on the fence because the trailer didn't jazz you, definitely go take a look.
You
at
have
it.
to go see it.
If you're a fan of
It's so
the first one, you need to be seeing this film. 100% worth a rewatch. I want to watch it again just because there's so much going on. There's so much color out there that, like Andrew said, you back away from having to worry about what the story is.
Yeah.
And you can really watch for, Easter eggs, cameos, small bits, and like how did they pull off this action scene? Like how do they move from here to there and make it make sense? And the feeling of it the whole way is just so good.
Are you in search for a podcast that's the one constant across all the multiverse? Use your
That's a bold statement.
Use your web slinging abilities to swing on over to spoilersintendedpodcast.com.
Oh no! It's like you crossed the global World Wide Web because you're a spider. No,
it was right there. Oh no!
Oh.
So we have a website that has all of our episodes on it.
Can you say that again, but
to.
really hit the word web for me?
Use your web slinging abilities to swing on over to spoilersintendedpodcast.com.
There we go.
Our website. Use your web browser.
So we have a great website that has all of our newest and greatest episodes on there.
And all of our previous ones. We keep referencing them throughout the show, so they're all there.
And, it's a good time. We also have a Discord. We have social media.
We do.
Someone take it away.
All right, so speaking of a good time, we have a Discord. And we are in there along with other fans of the show, and we got channels talking about our hobbies, what are we cooking, other stuff that's out there that we're watching, maybe things that haven't been reviewed or that people are talking us up and they want us to review. You never know what's out there because, hey, we're just in there having fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we also have social media. We have two of them. Two whole social medias. We have a Facebook.
No multiverse here.
Yeah, it's the dualverse. We have Facebook and Instagram. And so if you're not following us over there, we post some behind the scenes stuff every now and then. We for sure would love you to follow us over there because we post every week what we're going to be watching the next week so you can watch along with us and be caught up. So by the time the episode drops, you're clued in and ready to listen to the review all the way through.
Yep.
And we are back, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the spoiler wall. If you have not seen Across the Spiderverse, this is your time to hop off, scuttle on out, and get you down to a theater or wherever it's streaming.
Scuttle on
That's
out.
not what spiders do. They don't scuttle. They do not scuttle.
Like a fiddler crab.
That's just kind of like the spider of the sea, right?
Exactly.
But yeah, this is
Wouldn't
your
that be a lobster?
warning right here because it is
That's the cockroach of the sea.
it is spoilers all the way on from here on out. We're gonna kick it off with some trivia, and I gotta say I'm really disappointed that we are recording right now because some cookies just showed up in the studio.
Oh boy,
and
they
like
look
the
good too.
absolute cardinal sin
They're
of
taunting us.
the absolute cardinal sin is eating on
Yeah.
air.
This just became an ASMR podcast.
Oh,
Hand me
no.
one of those boys. No, don't.
No, we're not doing that to anybody. All right, so let's kick this off with a little trivia, huh? So Lord and Miller told Sony the sequel would be the same size as Into the Spider-Verse in terms of like production.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like hard drive
same
space?
size.
What are we talking about?
When I read this, I was like, what does that even mean? But it ended up requiring the largest crew of any animated movie ever made with around 1,000 people working on it.
Like in the history of the world?
Apparently, that's the way it's worded.
That's great.
Yeah,
But-
I believe it.
I-
Again, we were
100%
talking about
believe
like
it.
3 directors, and y'all were talking about this, and I was like, oh yeah, there's a reason you
probably
need
had
a
to wrangle
bunch
all
of
these
people
animators.
working. So
they keep getting out.
they actually took up the different teams working on it, and they broke them down by different neighborhoods in New York. to be able to differentiate.
I'm on the
who's what.
Queen's team.
Yeah, no, it's pretty much
that's
like
probably
that.
how. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, though, from a production standpoint, or like just a project production, like that's the best way to do it.
Yeah, but you can also, you're right, they're right next to a Gangs of New York situation where each of the animators is just like drawing the line in the sand in the lunchroom, and you're like, no.
See what you need, and this is a really deep cut. But what you need
Having
is a
snap fights like West Side
no.
Story.
what you hope.
They're at it again.
That's the risk you take. But what you hope for is that you have the Newsies situation where you end up with something where it's like, there's no need to fear. Brooklyn is here, right? The
yeah.
other team's coming in to help.
Got it.
You hope you get that. You risk the other though.
You risk the other. Bob the Butcher coming out of the back. How did he get in here?
Kind of mirroring this theme of just a huge production, right? The film has 240 different characters and takes place across 6 universes.
I mean, there's
It
a
is
lot of
actually a tweet.
It's a tweet.
Now, I mean, the 240 characters obviously is a very large
It's a
number.
lot of cameos, Easter eggs, stuff
Yeah,
flashed.
Yeah, it's
about.
not like
Like-
we got to tell the backstories of 240 characters. How do we do it?
Anyways, you know how this goes. Let's do it one more time.
It's a 40-hour movie.
Everyone in the theaters, get me out.
Just ended already.
So, speaking of it being too long,
Oh.
this is the longest American animated film to date.
Really?
What?
Yeah, 2 hours and 20 minutes is the number to beat.
Really?
All right, you ready for this one?
Because we're
though?
not counting Avatar.
That's not an animated
It's not
film.
an animated film.
Are you ready for this though? It beat
Yeah.
the prior record holder, Consuming Spirits.
What is
I
consuming
don't
spirits?
know. I didn't
Is
click
that
the
about
link.
drinking, or is that
I
like
didn't click the link because I wanted to see if any of y'all had seen this. And it came out in 2012 apparently, but
It's like Rounders, but they're drinking.
someone pull it up, look it up.
Spirit.
I
They're all
wanna know
ghosts.
I want to know what it is.
They're ghosts getting drunk. Write this down, Andrew.
But no,
TM, TM, TM. TM, TM on air. TM, this is copyrighted.
Pull that up. I want to know what it was.
Consuming spirits.
Consuming
2012.
spirits.
All right.
So it was beat out by 4 minutes.
Okay.
So that apparently,
Joke's on them.
Apparently, that's a really long film about
Idiots.
nobody knows. So production on the film was finished just 13 days before the U.S. release date.
Oh, this is
Down to the wire.
this is very interesting. Okay, so
consuming spirits.
3 residents of a small Rust Belt town lead sad, interconnected lives.
In the world?
And I kid you not, the art style is very sad.
Let me see it. Okay,
Oh, yeah.
Steven
Those
saw
people
it.
got
Let me
some
see it.
long faces. That's sad.
Oh, I'm sad looking at
Oh,
that.
that's just sad. That
Okay. Is
Rust
that like
Belt, that feels like dust
stop
Bowl
motion,
more.
or is that like...
I mean, it's definitely animated of
Okay.
some kind, but it's not stop motion.
Okay.
Ooh, man. Okay.
All right, yeah. So today we learned about a film in 2012, Consuming Spirits, who just lost the record.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, now that just makes me really sad because like it's consuming their spirit.
Oh,
What do you mean we're not the longest? It's the only thing we had.
that's all we had going for us.
No.
So
There's probably a lot of Consuming Spirits fans listening, just screaming at their car, swerving off the road. How dare you?
So like I said, production was finished 13 days before release.
Man, that's scary.
So this film was originally scheduled to be released on April 8th, 2022,
Oh wow.
but
Okay.
delayed because of COVID.
COVID, yeah.
Right. Along with
Glad they did if they took them to right before.
But we've seen I mean, if you have 1,000 people, like there's no collaboration, people, everyone from home, we gotta manage this process. There's no way, right? There's no way.
Well,
Yeah.
it's really the actual asset pipeline is where the bottleneck happens there, because if you have a 3D artist that is doing renders or whatever, they have to find a way to get it to you. Where if you're all working in the office, you have the pipeline already there because it's all local area.
You're all on the same
Yeah.
server. Yeah. You got the 10 gigabit up and down,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
opposed to like Spectrum's not working today, you know, or whatever.
My wife is streaming Desperate Housewives. Why? That show hasn't been on in years. That one got you? Okay. Write that down.
so I
Desperate
already-
Housewives jokes work on Steven.
I already mentioned the Angry Birds fact, which just cracked me up. So this is Oscar Isaac's 4th Marvel movie appearance.
He's just jumping around in the
He
in the
is
multiverse.
the multiverse.
Yeah, like
He
we're
is.
just in his multiverse.
Yeah.
He's the constant.
So he's
We're
been
all fictions of his imagination. This is his world. We're living in it.
he's been in both Spider-Verses as Spider-Man 2099.
Yep.
So he was Moon Knight and other associated personalities as Moon Knight.
Yes.
And then he was
Apocalypse?
In probably probably his
in
greatest
X-Men
role
Apocalypse.
acting ever.
The biggest waste of
Apocalypse from
talent I've
X-Men
ever
Apocalypse.
seen because he just wasn't able to do anything because his prosthetics.
He looked like Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers movie from the 90s.
Well, no, he just looks like the same guy that's in the main bad guy in the first Guardians of the Galaxy.
Ronan, yeah.
He just looks like him.
So the problem too, and again, I have so much I could talk about the X-Men movies, but I won't start here. It's like Apocalypse is supposed to be like Thanos level, like,
Yeah.
and then this guy comes waddling out in this outfit with his purple makeup, and I'm like, what did you saw this on set? And we're like, looks good.
Send him out there.
Send it.
Roll it, roll tape.
So speaking of some, what we'll call them cameos,
Yeah.
J.K. Simmons has now appeared as J. Jonah Jameson in the MCU and being in Tobey Maguire's era Spider-Man movies. He's covering most of the recent
I'm
Spider-Man.
so happy that he has just been that character. He is that character.
Just live the dream, man.
Yeah.
You want to talk about some
consistent work.
just, I was going to say job security. They're like, J.K. Simmons is sitting there and they're like, oh, they're making another Spider-Man. Gonna have a check soon. All right, so that kind of ends what I've got for trivia at the moment.
Okay.
So spectacle.
Where do we even start with
Oh
this?
man, where do you start
No,
with this?
Spider-Punk. That's where we start.
Okay, that's as good a starting place as any.
Yeah. His asset creation apparently took 3 years.
For them to get all, I mean, it was because he was very much like a collage.
Yes. Like in the type of like animation techniques of where it's not like every time he moves it changes. It just changes at random intervals.
It's just a flicker, basically.
And then as he moves, it changes more. So
Right.
like, I feel there's some like algorithm like basically tailored to how he like basically interacts with everything else.
So they basically
Could be.
created the ultimate scrapbooking AI
Yeah.
for this character, where it went out and found it just crawled Pinterest.
Well, and talk
It's like,
about
give
just-
me all your clip art.
And this is jumping ahead, but talk about a great character too.
Oh, yeah.
He was great, and I love that he is basically designed like the late 70s
British punk scene.
British punk scene,
yeah. And it's just it's so
great.
So I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna go that far because he upstaged my boy Spider-Man India. I was on board. I was on board with Spider-Man India, and then
yeah.
Punk Man walked in and just dominated the scene. I was like, come on now, give India a chance. Like, come on.
I mean, he was great though.
Get out of here, Britain. You've already taken everything from India. Get out of here.
kind of
We watched RRR.
joke.
And this is where the British took all of our stuff.
Oh yeah.
Here's where we keep our traffic. Here's also where we keep our traffic. This is also where we keep our traffic. And here's where the British took all our stuff.
So let me ask a question. In that dimension, in that universe, was it that like India was like the main
The-
place where
the
Spider-Man
New York
was, or was it the whole world was India themed?
No,
I don't know.
I see.
I don't either.
The thing is, you're supposed to be the person who knows about comics. He's a comic character.
Right, but that's specifically when they went to it in this movie.
I
I
don't
was
know.
like, I don't know if this means like the whole world is India,
See,
or if
with
this
it-
means that like we're Spider-Man instead of being in New York,
New York,
is
it's India.
See,
yeah.
I kind of assumed that where it's like because it's called Mumbatan, so it's kind of
Yeah.
like Mumbai but Manhattan.
Manhattan,
in
yeah,
there.
okay.
So
So
it's
it's
kind of
probably-
like
yeah.
what if Mumbai was the New York of the comic
yeah,
book
yeah,
world
got
or
it,
whatever?
got it.
Yeah.
And which I think is totally great. I mean,
That was
like,
cool. Yeah,
It's a
I
really
loved it.
cool sequel. Like again, we get a whole different look and feel of the world. I think that's the thing to me that stood out. Was initially I wasn't sure because we start out in Gwen's universe and the art style is very different.
Oh yeah, like kind of like a watercolor.
Oh, it was
Yeah.
like that classic Looney Tunes, like 60s Looney Tunes watercolor backgrounds going on, or like some of the early Disney stuff,
Yeah.
like the
Yeah.
shorts, where I was just like, oh, this is cool, but it's kind of, I'm having a hard time getting into it after really loving, Into the Spider-Verse's art style. And then we moved into Miles's universe, and I was like, oh, we're here finally, like, whew.
Yeah.
But then when we go back to Gwen's universe, it's like, yeah, this is cool.
Well, and
Yeah.
the awesome thing about this is I'm pretty sure you could write a class on.
there's a thesis. There's a thesis in there for sure.
like of how they did basically mimic the emotions of the intention of each scene, especially with her and her father.
For each character, like as they interact, and like his background's the red because he's angry, and hers is the blue. She's sad, and then it shifts,
and then
or-
she turns, and now she's blue, and then she turns again, and now she's red. Like
Yeah. The
those
play
kind
there
of
was so
changes
good.
are just so they're so intentional.
Yeah, and that's why I want to watch it again more than anything. It's just to like really drill down and like pick up all the little nuance that happens in there. Because even the second time she comes back and is like reconciling with her dad, like the animations behind him, everything is like
so good,
purposeful, and like just really well done.
Yeah.
I gotta say, initially, like I was a little off put by how busy it is, not for like her specifically, but just because they throw a lot of stuff at you.
Yeah.
There are some scenes in this movie that are like, there's a lot
going on.
Particularly whenever they're on the tower train, that is a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there. But I think they did such a good job of blocking out, framing scenes, and letting the action flow that it never really loses you. Like, I'm upset because I know stuff happened in the background. I didn't get to see it because I had to focus.
Yeah.
But I never had a moment where I was like, wait, where'd he go? How did he get here?
Yeah.
Or where did you enter from? You know?
The way that they block the action is so clear and concise. And I think it has to be because there's so much visual information happening at any given moment.
Yeah.
Where you need to be able to see there's Miles, there's Miguel, you know, and you have an idea of where they're going and the direction that they're moving and this kind of thing. Because, and I would definitely say this, I was very hyper aware, I think, in maybe a lot of like the MCU Spider-Man films where like he'll just thwip into air.
He just grabs
and he just in the clouds, like air molecules.
There's not like potentially anything above him that he should be able to grab.
He's ballooning.
Right? Where at least in this, at least I didn't notice anything that was glaring. I'm sure it shows up, but like where people would thwip and there's actually things that they're grabbing onto.
Right. Yeah.
Well, he even had a moment in this too where he was somewhere very high and he just kind of thwipped and it just kind of played out to nowhere and he just kind of let it go and he's kind of like, well, where else do I go?
I also want to shout out like Miguel's Spider-Man 2099's animation, like how animalistic he like was
the way he
crawling
moves.
up that freaking train and stuff. Like, oh man.
Paired with Oscar Isaac's voiceover.
Yeah, it was so good.
We're gonna hold on now. You back off that performance.
Let him dip his toes in the water. The other thing is like, get your toes in the water.
People gotta drink out of that. Get your toes out of there.
Like,
Oh God.
yeah, that's my cup of water. Get it out of there. The scene where like she uses the watch for the first time in front of Miles when he's like invisible and she goes and he's standing there in front of the the portal or whatever you want to call it, you know, and he's looking back and like where his dad's party's happening and his
like
family's
looks out
back
over
there.
the city and then he does the same thing, but she's looking through him to see it. Yeah,
right. And then but that just him in front of that and the way it's
like
framed
hex,
up, I was like, oh, this is good. And then like, you know, he goes through it and that scene stood out to me. There's a lot of them that just like,
also,
like I said earlier, it could be like
portal
a
design too, right? Where like the way the portal feels alien to any universe it opens into, right? There's no universe where it's like, oh, that's just
this
Tuesday.
is the Hex universe.
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
But then you also have like Hobie's version of the portal watch and it's got its own unique flair.
Which I found very interesting that was a thing, that like each person has or each Spidey has their own very tailored to their
I don't
style.
think that's exactly how it works. I think because we see him.
Maybe he like
we'll get into it in
customized it.
plot. We'll get into plot.
Yeah.
I'll save that for them.
Sure.
Let me
Get your
remind
toes
me
out of the water
Get
there.
your toes out of the water. We're going too far into the water. Okay. Golly.
Spectacle was great.
Now I don't even know what I was going to say.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like we could break down Spectacle for hours.
Forever
If we wanted to get
on
into
this
the
film.
nitty gritty, like the animation we already know is
it's
great.
crisp. It's great.
Yeah. Like it was just very well done.
I would say if you can watch this in like the special, not 3D, but like the Prime, the really nice
5D
Dolby Atmos,
smell
like
the
the
Spider-Man.
nice 4K projector, like do it because I'm sure this is.
There's got to be more to it. Well, I think too, because we talked about sometimes, right? Silhouette design, like character design. How unique are they? Because there's so many things flying around.
You know exactly.
You know who is who.
Yeah.
All the time. Does not matter where you are, how chaotic it is. You know who the principal people are in play.
And like Peter B. Parker, they did a good job having him in that pink bathrobe. So he stands out immediately compared to all these other potential background Spider-Man that are running around, because it's like he's got the baby and the thing and his mask's off. So he looks immediately recognizable as like, there's Peter B.
Peter B.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. The bits too at the start, like with Spot, I love the way they
yeah.
played with his abilities and how they moved around.
When the bread is falling out of his stomach, I was like, this is great.
Can you not do that?
Yeah. And I think Jason Schwartzman was, I'm dipping my toes in. I'm out.
Yeah, but-
No, we're already there.
We're there. Let's
Okay.
call it. This is performance.
Jason Schwartzman was a great pick for Spot.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Like that whole opening scene with that, like in Miles' universe, that
Yeah.
opening scene, not past the Gwen stuff with
Past the
Spot
cold open, but-
and him trying to get to this, parent-teacher conference or whatever. Yeah, that was really well done.
Yeah. But I mean, like, honestly, so we're in performance, right? Mm-hmm. Is there a bad performance?
I don't think so.
Like, I don't know that there.
I
and,
don't
like,
think there is.
We already kind of touched on it, right? With like Miguel and the animation, like the animalistic way he moves when he's angry, and also with Oscar Isaac voicing behind that, like that's just that's a good.
Oscar Isaac fits that character so well.
so well. And we know he can act. We know he can emote.
Yeah.
So it's a good thing too for the animation. The animation almost it keeps up with him, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like.
Well, and you have Shamik Moore, who is Miles Morales.
Oh, he's just great.
Absolutely,
Just
just
kills it
dominates
all
it.
the time.
Especially when he's talking with his mom.
That's where I was gonna go. When I don't want to just limit it to the mom. I think it's the parents.
I was gonna say I also like the scene where he's Spider-Man and his dad.
And he's like, well,
One of my favorite bits is
Let him
right there
spread his
too, where
wings.
the dad's about to jump into the portal, and
he's
then it
like-
cuts to him to come down
Yeah.
the stairs.
He's like,
I laughed so
stealing
loud.
himself up for it. He's just like, nope.
Nope.
How stupid can I be?
Yeah, because Brian Tyree Henry, I think, plays his dad.
Yes.
And then
Yeah.
I think Luna Lauren Velez is the mother.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they kill it.
They nail it.
That interaction, like around the party, from like you're grounded for a month, make it 2, all the way down then to with his mom, where she's like, go, like that kind of the rift, but also the coming back together of the family.
Well, even the blow up in the party had Brian Henry just was absolutely killing it with basically dressing him down.
Oh yeah.
But also, even before that, like taking the microphone away from the mother, right? He's like, oh, no, we can't. And then he starts going, it's just like, oh, gosh.
Yeah.
I did love the little bit of comedy in there with the DJ.
Oh, the DJ trying to jack up the levels to drown out the strife.
And then he just gives up. He's just like, I don't know what to do. Yeah, he was great. I really loved Karan Soni as Spider-Man India.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I like that
He
character.
had so much
That was
energy.
cool. There is so much, like that character has a flow that is because I feel like all spider beings have their own unique flow, and we really see it in these movies.
Yes,
where they have their own way of moving, their own kind of kinetics.
Yeah,
and his was very different from what we've seen.
Well, I
recently.
feel that they animated him on a much higher frame rate,
a high frame rate,
than someone like Miles Morales or like even Gwen or whatever. Because
like Hobie had like even half what Miles had.
Hobie's like on like 4s.
Yeah. So it was cool to see the mixture of like the frame rates.
Yeah.
He's in Deadpool 1 and 2, the actor, and he's hilarious in
Is he the
those.
taxi driver?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
cool.
And then we always have to call out Gwen. Haley Steinfeld did a fantastic job again.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She did really good.
And she gets so much more to work with.
Yeah,
this time.
I think that paid off, right? If we go back to the Into the Spider-Verse review, we talked about how like the 2 principal characters were really Miles and Peter B. And then she was kind of the 3rd principal, but she kind of got left out of that equation. She was kind of in between the lesser, like the Noir and Spider-Ham and
but she
Penny.
gets just a little bit more.
But she's a little more
because she's a romance, or a romantic interest,
interest or whatever. But here she really gets her time to shine.
Oh, her scene whenever her father, like she reveals herself to her dad.
Oh, like when he's pointing the gun at her. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, because from his perspective, he's trying to do his job, but then it's just man, it's brutal.
Oh,
I also want to
such a
shout
good
out
scene.
Daniel Kaluuya, who did Hobie.
Yeah,
he's good.
I've seen him mostly in Jordan Peele's movies Nope and Get Out.
Yeah, that's what I
He's
say
really
to
good in
both those movies. Nope.
Yeah, but he was also in Black Panther 1 and 2. He was
okay.
Okoye's husband
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, he does a great job.
Yeah.
Especially towards the the end, whenever he just kind of steps out, and obviously we're going to get him in Beyond the Spider-Verse, but whenever he kind of shows his hands, and then he just kind of like, I'm out.
Yeah. It's like, oh, I feel the rebellion in me too. It's so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, like, again, like I started this off with find a bad performance. I don't think you can.
Yeah.
Because I think the writing is there. The people who they picked for all these characters who is either carried through or they added in, they're all up to the task, if not, beyond capable of this. And the animation too, the amount of effort they put into this animation, it keeps up. It makes the characters individual.
Yeah.
They play with these personalities. Like, it's so good.
Well, and Issa Rae did a fantastic job as Spider-Woman because she, she didn't get a ton to work with. She was kind of, the tertiary
kind of
character this
in
time.
In the middle of things, yeah.
But, I mean, everyone did a great job. It was fantastic.
I do love that scene with her where she's like giving Peter B, like, this is your, protege or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's like, beat you. Like, after she, guess he's not too bad of a mentor. Or whatever. Yeah. I was like, dang.
I also love that just because Peter B is kind of in that middle ground as well, where he's like, am I kind of on board with this plan? Yeah. But is Miles kicking all y'all's butts? Yeah. Am I enjoying that? Yeah.
Yeah. And Donald Glover with his cameo. As Prowler in the middle. That was like.
Well, so he was the original voice actor for Miles Morales.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. So for the first movie?
No. For the TV show.
Oh, the cartoon.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
He was the first Miles Morales, so him just being in there was just really fun.
Yeah.
Well, and it's also his like how he looks is kind of what the character was based off of to begin with, and so like that carries through to this. So when they look at each other, it's kind of like uncanny valley. Yeah.
Well, and so they actually did. So they didn't have Shameik Moore play, I'll say, Miles B in this film. So it was Jarrell Jerome.
Miles B.
Yeah, because the voice at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Miles,
the Prowler Miles.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry, you said that. I'm like, who?
Well, because when he started talking, I was like,
whoa.
That's totally different.
Yeah,
That's not the same.
I had a moment where I was like, man, is this what he actually can do when he pretends to make his voice deep?
I know. I was like, wow.
Yeah, no, totally different voice actor.
Okay, that makes sense. Which I'll be interested to see where we go with that piece.
Yeah.
But we're going to get there. We're not there yet.
Yep.
We've been gushing on performances. What about the music?
Music was great.
I think the music was really good.
Yeah.
It was.
What else has Daniel Pemberton done? Can you look that up?
Well, I told you.
Or did you have?
He did Ebola Holmes.
Ebola. Oh, that's right. Ebola Holmes.
Meeting the Ricardos.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah.
the Steve Jobs.
That's right. Yeah.
And the Man from U.N.C.L.E. Those are all things that I recognize names offhand.
But I mean, this one he really pushed it out quite a bit because he took a lot of the Prowler theme and he added it into a bunch of other kind of like leitmotifs and everything, and it really added to the film because they kind of take the Prowler theme and they mix it into Miguel's theme as Spider-Man 2099.
A little bit.
A little bit.
There's definitely some crossover between a lot of them that like you can feel the DNA is there, but it's like a different key or it's like a modified,
Well, and with Miguel's theme specifically, it kind of like I still don't know if he's a bad guy or if he's just an anti-hero.
Right.
Or if he is actually a good guy and he's just a hard dude because he's, I guess, vampire.
Let's
Spider-Man.
listen to it and see how we feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's got, like obviously that.
Yeah. Because like part of me is like, well, he's a bad dude because it sounds like insane a little bit, like he's like losing it. But
I mean, that's the thing though. He definitely this theme is very much just 2099 far future kind of dystopian feel. So that's not necessarily a knock against his character. That just may be the theme of his Spider-Man.
Right.
Kind of thing where it's like Batman Beyond, where you have like much more of like a techno level theme.
Yeah.
So I can't tell if he's a good guy or a bad guy.
Right. But I thought the music in this was fantastic. So like looking at the other stuff he's done, like I've seen Man from U.N.C.L.E. and I've seen Ebola Holmes. And I don't really remember.
Now we're stuck with that.
I don't remember either of those. Like the music from those just blowing me away.
Whoa.
But at the same time, like Man from U.N.C.L.E. was just like so
Is it really the right medium for that?
plain. Like that was mostly Armie Hammer and Henry Cavill's fault of like they just didn't have enough charisma. Like it was like, I don't know if y'all saw that one, but like they didn't have enough. Like it was not like George Clooney and Brad Pitt from Oceans, you know, where they have just effortless
snappy
chemistry. Yeah. And so maybe I was so distracted by that that like I didn't pay attention to the music enough. But then Enola Holmes, same thing. I don't recall.
The music
it wasn't bad,
phenomenal.
No, but this movie, I was like,
this is a step up. Everyone stepped up their game for this. Yeah.
Well, and so you have like kind of the cold open with Gwen, which you have like some good pumping music in there, but then you move into Miles, like Earth Not 42,
1999.
Something like that.
Yeah,
that is it.
And you move into his, and like that opening title role is just so good. Yeah, like it has like a really good kind of like hip hop inspired beat to it, and then but it still has like the kind of Marvel Spiderverse, you know, feel that we're already used to.
Yeah, I think my only thing I would say about the music, and it's not really a knock to the music in this movie, it's more of a like comparison to the first one of like, there's just nothing that's going to top that scene in the first one. What's the song? It starts with...
Sorry. MCU Earth is 1999.
Yeah.
That's what it was. I knew I said that. I was like, wait a minute, hold on.
He's looking it up right now.
What's he looking for?
I'm trying to find the song.
He's hunting for
Trying
Danger.
to find the song.
Danger. When he jumps off the building and like it's upside down, the frame, and that song hits.
From Into?
Yeah, I'm saying in this
That's
movie,
What's Up,
there's not a
Danger?
complaint with this movie specifically. It's more of a like, man, there wasn't a moment like the danger
where
scene
you
in the
that
first
was
one.
actually something that I noted. I skipped over in the spectacle was while everything was there and there wasn't that one moment of just whoa.
Right.
Quite like that, where everything came together, where you had the music hits as the action
visuals,
going, the visual,
and the story.
There's no dialogue. Everything comes to a point. Yeah.
And I guess though it's a different story, so there's really was like that was an origin story, and that was like I'm Miles almost.
Now hold on. We do get that moment because we do get it right at the end of the film with getting the band back together.
Kind of,
but
it just didn't have the same impact.
It's not the same feeling.
Yeah, it's not gonna have the same.
This is Empire Strikes Back.
Also,
Right,
I'm gonna correct you on that now. The band's not back together yet
because Miles.
They're
isn't
going
there.
for Miles.
Yeah.
Miles is the last piece. They need that. They need that part. The band.
Yeah, for sure. But like what I'm saying is like you still do get, because I almost jumped out of my seat. I was so excited whenever I saw
Never seen a movie
Spider-Ham.
with Andrew. He's either over there crying or jumping out of his seat.
I cried twice in this film.
Oh my gosh!
The opening credits and the closing credits.
It was beautiful.
I'm free. I'm finally free. No.
What's wrong with that man, Mommy? Don't look at him. He's jumping out of his seat.
Like I got to say, I have had lots of complaints about the theater goers around me recently, and they're not that. I would at least accept that.
And this is the worst story yet.
No,
Wait, guys.
no,
Okay.
We had like a group of teenagers who were like dropped off by their parents at the movies or something.
Ugh.
And the thing is, it's not even that. They showed up like 45 minutes in the movie and took
Who
their
does
seats.
that?
Right? What monsters? Like, I'm gonna spend money to go in and miss everything. So of course they didn't know what was going on. So they were just on their phones the whole time. Just like, why are you even here?
What are you doing?
Just go harass the poor people at
Go walk around the
Bed
mall.
Bath Beyond. Oh no, that's out of business. Go somewhere else.
Go to Wetzel's Pretzels and leave me alone.
All right.
Anyways,
Old man yells at teens.
Just put an onion on your belt.
An onion on your belt?
on
What is
your
that
belt?
From
from?
The Simpsons. This is the fashion at the time.
Like, is this like an old wives' tale? It'll drive away teens if you put an onion on your belt. So I was about to go buy some onions. Anyways, any more thoughts on music?
No, I feel like
No,
we're
I
moving
got
into the
nothing,
plot, right?
Let's slide right in there.
Let's talk some plot. So I'm gonna start off by saying pacing was pretty good throughout.
Yeah.
Except it really slowed down there at the end, which it needed to. But I felt like in that last 20 minutes, you started to really feel the length of the film. It's my one complaint.
Well, I think so. That may be because did you know going into this that this was a
knew it was.
two-parter?
Yeah, I knew it
Okay,
was.
I did not.
I didn't tell
I
Lauren.
didn't either.
I didn't tell Lauren, and so she like at the end, the cliffhanger hits, and she's like, "Did you know this was a two-parter?" I was like, "Yes." She's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" Because cliffhangers are so hot right now.
So I didn't know going in that it was a cliffhanger, and as we were getting towards the end, I was like, "Man,
How are they
there's
gonna
some
wrap
pacing
this up?
Y'all gotta
issues here."
wrap this up. Yeah. We gotta go turbo mode real quick.
And whenever like they finally had the scene with basically revealing that he was in the wrong
Universe, yeah.
wrong universe. I was like, okay, this is where it ends right here.
Yeah. It kind of started to telegraph it at that point.
And I honestly did not catch, because they actually show it on the screen that he's going to Earth 42. I totally did not make that connection.
Man, they like beat you over the head at the start of it with Spot, where they're like Earth 42, blah 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 blah. And so I saw it on the screen. I was like, oh, that's not the right number. I don't remember what the right number is, but I know that's not the right one.
It didn't even cross my mind, and I was like, oh.
But then, like,
he's not in the right
he's
universe.
talking to his mom, and she's like, he like finally reveals who he is.
When she said, "Did you change your hair?" I was like,
"Oh, no, that was his uncle." Like,
was that
no,
his uncle?
she said
Oh, I thought she asked him, "Where's your braids?" or something like that. Yeah,
it's whatever she said.
Yeah,
but yeah, like that reveal of like I'm Spider-Man. She's like,
so is that like a Comic-Con
like
thing?
or
yeah,
like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I had a friend from work who made a comment. He's like, the only plot point that he found was he's like, when some random white girl comes walking out of this kid's bedroom and the parents are just like, wait, what? And then she just leaves out the front door. They just let her know.
She sails on out, and they're just totally just accept her explanation.
Wearing his sweater, and then she just sails out. She's leaving. She's like, he loves y'all more than you know. And they're like, yeah. And she walks out. He was like, no. That mom would have been on her. Well, especially with their kid like missing, not knowing where he's at.
Especially with his dad being a cop. There's no way she gets out of there without.
Yeah, I was laughing at that too, where I was like, there is no way that they are this calm, this cool, and collected, and they let the teenage girl just walk away when their teenage son is missing, and this is who she was last seen with.
That line was really good though. They're like, you have no idea how much he loves you or whatever. She's like, he talks about you all the time, whatever. And I was like, oh, that's a good line. But then I was like, the situation here is weird because there's no way she just, all right, I guess she's gone.
Deuces, like,
bye. Yeah.
It is definitely a very weird scene, and that one felt out of place.
Yeah.
But I know that scene had to happen.
Not enough to drag me out of the movie, but it was the only one that I noticed plot wise where I was like, okay.
That's a little heavy-handed.
Okay.
Yeah.
I almost thought, I was actually worried, like when they were showing like the return machine, which one is creepy as all get out, right? With the big spider. But like some of the other characters, like Peter B, like characters we like, and Hobie, I think, all kind of reacted to it negatively. And I was like, man, is this like the hidden secret, like the obvious secret where it's not returning, it's just destroying?
Yeah.
And then he went into it, and I was like, okay, well, he's not just kind of like,
he's not just gonna die.
Right?
Like, it's a multiverse. We've got more Miles Morales. Like, what?
What? Kids are crying in the theater.
Yeah.
Oh no.
I will say that I understand that like the whole point of like him drawing all the spider beings out of the headquarters, so he could
be able to go back in. Yeah.
I know why, but like like how they got there was so haphazard in the sense of like a lot of it was random of like them going, like him going places and everything like that.
So I will say I liked that bit, not because like him going back, which was kind of like, oh, where did this come from?
Yeah.
But because the chase through the tower is so hectic and frantic, and like we as a viewer don't know where he's going because he doesn't know.
Yeah.
But he starts covering so much ground, he's putting it together of where he is, what he could, and then he has the thought of, oh, I could use that to go back. Yeah. Well, now I just have to I have to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Because like when he goes off the space elevator, moon train, and just disappears, and it's an actual literal like deuces moment. I'm out.
Yeah.
Like, find me now. He just blends in, you know? That was good.
I did like him
really good.
using the his electricity to keep Miguel off of him or whatever. Like, it was like that whole sequence was really, really good, but like I didn't like they kind of did the same reveal twice where like Peter B was like, I'm your friend, I'm gonna try and help you, but actually I'm just trying to help you help them capture you. But then he does it twice, and that kind of bothered me because it's like,
when was the second time?
Well, so the first time was just like whenever they're all confronting him, kind of intervention style.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, okay, yeah. and then like whenever they're like in the furnace or whatever, it's the same thing.
I didn't read it like that at all.
See,
I thought he was just talking to him.
I
didn't think he was trying to slow him down at all.
I'm pretty sure I felt like he was
I
trying to slow
read
him
that
down.
as at that point Peter B is no longer on board with the plan.
Yeah, he's not
I'm
on the
helping
board
out my
anymore.
mentee.
Yeah.
And then the watch goes off and he's like, shut up, people. Like this
Right,
is like,
he's telling them
me.
no. He's like, hold the baby. You were the reason I had this child. Like that's a heartfelt moment. I didn't read that at all. Like he was
Maybe
slowing
I
it
read
down.
that
Maybe
way
I
at
need to
all.
watch it again.
Because he also, again, the confrontation is with Miguel is, this is not what we talked about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Like Miguel's deviated from the plan. I don't like where this is going. This is my boy.
Yeah,
I
this is
think
my.
it could feel like a little bit of lip service
It could.
to try and save face with Miles.
It could, except again at the end when the band's together, he's there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like,
No, he's not going to abandon Miles.
I know,
Right.
but I never read that kind of like nefariousness within the
Yeah.
character, and that may just be because I don't want him to be. I don't know.
I could be reading into it that I don't want him to be
I
that
just
guy.
like the character. I don't know.
I like Peter B, but he's fine.
I love
like
Peter B.
I love me some
Hush,
Peter B.
get out of here.
I'm a
I
Gwen.
should have used him as my my spider being at the start here.
Yeah.
I want to be a Spider-Man in sweatpants.
I
eating
do
pizza
think
on the couch.
The overall plot, I really enjoyed it. I liked the idea of where they went with this one because when they announced they were doing a sequel, I was kind of like, okay, well, where are they going to go with it? Like, what type of story were they really going to tell? You know, and
Or how can you tell? What do you tell that's more? Right?
Yeah.
Like because again, and it. Not to just harp on Sony Pictures, but like that first one was so good, it felt like lightning in the bottle, and in a bottle, and I was like, oh no, how are they gonna even extrapolate anything that's gonna be as good or better? And they did it. Like so props to the writers and
a large part, or I won't say a large part, but the basis for 2 was written before 1 was really in production. Like they had a good idea.
Oh,
of it.
good.
So
Okay.
Well, I
even
mean,
more
clearly
so,
they have like the
3
breadcrumbs.
Yeah, 3 was already mostly figured out before 2 was done.
Good.
So they
Nice.
Yeah,
because like this
that's
is a
what
quick,
I want to hear.
yeah, I feel good about this.
because 3 is supposed to come out March of 24.
Okay, so really
So
close.
It's less than a year.
Really? I
for the
looked it
next.
up earlier, and it was like 2026, and I was like, I'm leaving the country.
No,
There's
I'm
no
pretty
way
sure
you're
it was
making me wait.
2024.
Okay, let me
Double check me on that though.
I got
no
sad.
way I can wait.
Yeah,
3
that
years.
long. So going on plot here though. So one of the things I really liked, again, going back to your girl Gwen, right?
Yeah.
So in the original, we get her backstory. Peter died, right? And in this one, we expand on the actual events there.
Yeah.
Like, ooh, that's some meat on the bone.
You're right. You're right. The third one is March 29th, 2024. So right now.
Nailed it.
Okay.
So
Thank
less
God.
than a year from the second one coming out.
That's good.
Quick turnaround. I love hearing that. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I got real sad when I saw that 2020. I was
Well,
like, no.
Again, like they've conquered some of the hurdles, right? Like they don't need to create another Pinterest AI to do a whole bunch of scrapbooking to make Hobie work.
Yeah.
Right? Like they've solved
already
that
done it,
problem.
yeah.
You know, so like those kind of assets are there. It's just background and story basically.
Yeah, and I think at this point, I mean, like obviously there's going to be more spider beings and stuff introduced, even cameos or whatever. But I think this was the one that they really just showed all the fun ones.
See, I actually think so. We're speculating now, right?
Yeah.
I think so. For the first one, they gave you a taste of what it could be like.
Yeah.
The second one is the explosion, right? Everything's everywhere. I think the third, it shrinks back down to the core.
Yep.
We're gonna have the band and then Miguel's core,
Yeah.
right? With
Spider
Riley and Spider-Woman.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have that core and the band, and that's gonna be the real tug of war, right?
Yeah,
And
then-
Miles B, the Prowler.
And the Prowler,
Yeah.
Prowler Miles.
So I definitely think that there's going to be some event, obviously, we're kind of in entertainment now, but I definitely think there's going to be some kind of event that brings Miles B into
Definitely. There's
into
no way
the
it doesn't.
because like that's the thing too is like clearly like the reason why all of this happened in Earth 42 is because the spider that was supposed to bite.
Well, Spot shows that in that recap. It shows the spider is on Miles's desk.
Yeah.
And that's clearly the moment that he should have been bitten and didn't happen.
And because of that, now Miles has turned into the Prowler because his uncle
is the primary
antagonist.
role model.
Role model. Yeah. So, like you have that, and they definitely are going to try and probably redeem that in some form, I would imagine.
Yeah,
would
and we got to
think,
get to the point where he saves his dad, presumably.
Yeah.
Because like that was the illusion that he's going to lose his dad. Well, he may not, but like that's
so here's the catch here is I guess the captain dying in I guess any Spider-Man is a thing. I don't remember.
Captain Stacy or Captain Singh or whatnot. Yeah.
So, but at the end there, Gwen kind of like she's like, "Oh, you can just choose not to be the captain."
She broke her canon.
Just give up on your dreams, Dad. Like, duh.
Yeah. So maybe that's gonna be kind of the plot.
The catalyst. I think that's the bit where the transformation happens with the spider webbing we see of the Spiderverse, or what did he call it? The arachnid.
Oh,
you know what? That was good too. He's like, that's also a stupid name.
Yeah.
Well, I liked that Miguel still had the Peter Parker
he's got
style
the Spider-Man
comedy.
bit. Yeah.
He still had a sense of humor.
Like, Lila, do the thing. What the thing? The exposition thing. The tell people thing.
Yeah, I'm glad that they still gave him a sense of humor.
They all have the core parts
the snarky,
of Peter Parker. Yeah, the sarcastic, the humor, the intelligence. Right? Like all those pieces are all there in every Spider-Man we've seen. Every Spider being.
Yeah.
I don't know if T-Rex Spider.
I'm sure T-Rex is just as snarky.
That T whip.
I do love that. Since we're in entertainment now.
Yeah,
I was very entertained. I think the scene with the why does the horse have a mask?
Oh yeah, I was about to bring that up.
That's my favorite. One of my favorite bits.
I like the draw in 3, 2. That's not how duels work.
Yeah. And even though they showed it in the trailer, I still laughed as with the Spider-Man's the therapist. Let me guess, your uncle died. Yes.
And then they crashed through.
That was so good. I still laughed at
basically every piece within that, like Spider-Cat and then like Spider T-Rex. Just gosh, there's so many moments where I was cackling.
Yeah, because that's when they show my guy Ben Reilly, like in that. And I'm
full
like,
emo.
There he is. And he's like, my muscles. He's like,
my muscles are so well defined.
I will say even with like Donald Glover being the main cameo, I guess, for the film. I think the live action was still a little too much.
It's a little too out.
It did feel weird.
It needed to be like an animated version that's just emphatically Donald Glover, right? It's just they just were like mocap him.
Well, really,
and put him in there.
the two scenes with Garfield and Maguire.
Yeah.
Though, like, I needed those were a little bit too much.
It was.
Like, and I get it, like, because they do mention
they were trying to drive it home that the Captain Stacy thing.
They also broke out too, right? We had the Lego Spider-Man version too, where it's a complete break of animation style.
Yeah.
Which going into how you do a multiverse right, Everything Everywhere All at Once does the same thing, where at some points you have a complete, not just you're vaguely human, a total break in how this works.
Right, yeah.
Which you should also check out our episode on that. We're just shilling left and right and center.
It's mostly been you, I feel like.
It's like we're breaking through the multiverse of the podcast.
The shill is coming from inside the house.
It's the shillverse. It's the shillverse.
The shillverse. I do wish that, like... When Donald Glover showed up, it would have been better to me if Miles had been like, "Whoa, look at this one!
Whoa, this one's weird.
This one's weird." Yeah,
it's rude to stare.
And Peter Bean's like, "Yeah, man, we
don't know.
We don't know, dude." Like that to me would have been even better if like Donald Glover has like this little soliloquy where he's like, "Yeah, I could have been whatever," and he's like, and then they just interrupt him. "Do you see this one?
How long is this
freaky looking?
It's weird."
Yeah,
I am kind of sad that he was in in a Prowler outfit.
Yeah,
instead of him just being Miles. Because like he was the voice. Like,
so, but was there Miles. Was he gonna be Prowler? Was it rumored at one point or something?
No idea.
I don't know that.
I don't know what
that might be like a nod to that or something.
Like the leaks that weren't leaks.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Right. That could have been what that was.
Yeah, I mean, just
I have no.
Everything throughout this movie, I think from a humor perspective, they had me. From a emotional perspective, they had me. Yep. Animation, like this is just like the first one where all these pieces came together so well.
Yep.
Just over. There were never, honestly, other than them just letting the teenager girl just leave while their child's missing. There are no really other moments that just stood out to me where I was like, well, this feels weird, you know?
I did like a lot of their scenes where, especially the first kind of get together with Gwen and Miles where she's sitting upside down.
Oh, and they like rotate the,
I love that. And and that's kind of the same thing that they did in the first film. Whenever he's jumping and the skyscrapers are going the opposite direction, but obviously not to that effect because it was much more subdued.
It's not a action motion moment. It's an emotional moment, right? It's a different core, even though that one was also very emotional for different reasons. But you know, yeah, it's a great film.
It was. It really was.
I can't wait to see it again.
I still stand by it. I think this was better than the first one. Like, and not even by a wide margin. I just think both are very, very good. But I think this one has a much more of an emotional core that what I kind of
Well, I think it's a different story. I think the first one is extremely good at being an origin story and not falling into the normal tropes of like you know, origin story stuff.
Yeah,
and this one. It's hard to put it into context, but it's like this one is better, but it wouldn't be better if the first one wasn't so good.
Exist, yeah,
because the first one set this one up for such a success, and it just runs across the finish line with it. You know?
And that's kind of like I did mention earlier. It's like Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah,
to where I think we all can agree that Empire Strikes Back is the better film compared to
A New Hope.
A New Hope.
Yeah.
But you couldn't have Empire Strikes Back without A New Hope.
Right. They're intrinsically linked.
Yes.
But at the same time, if you watch them back to back, I feel like
because it elaborates more on what we already like and what was already successful, and it just gives us more of the same. But it also elaborates on emotional character arcs.
The story gets fleshed out, the emotions and the animation. Like they definitely took it places in this second one. They didn't just like, okay, let's just repeat what we did in the first one. Because I think that one of the problems with those early trailers is you're really just seeing a lot of the Miles universe stuff. So it just looks like
it
more
looks the same.
Yeah. Where this was, it really, they went everywhere. And yeah.
So since you're saying out here, right, you're throwing this down as this is better. I want to throw out some comparisons for you from IMDb, right? So IMDb, the first one has an 8.4 out of 10.
Okay.
With 25% of the votes for a 10.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
The second one has a 9 out of 10 with 56% of the votes being a 10.
Ooh. Yeah, but it's probably like thousands less, right?
It is. Well, no, it is.
The sample size is probably much smaller.
Well, it's not the sample size compared one versus the other. It's the vote distribution.
Percentage.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in the first one, 10, 9, and 8 all get about 25% each. Here, it's 56%, 24%, 11%.
Right.
Like people... Yeah, you know,
they're wild about this movie.
The obligatory couple of percentage down the 1 star for
of course.
whatever
Sure,
reason. There's a female. I hate the movie. Whatever. But this one is massively weighted towards the top of the scale, whereas the other one was everyone liked it, but they weren't necessarily a 10. This is a 9. This is an 8. Whereas here, people are just 10, 10, 10, 10, 10.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's just a phenomenal film.
It's really, really good.
It's really good.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like we are winding down.
We sure are.
About time to wrap up the episode. We can't let you leave the Shilliverse without another shill. I got to harm.
We have
Andrew
at least one more.
One more. There's always one more, right?
Enter code spoilers to get a free knife set. Right?
Let me guess.
Cutco. What? No.
Let me guess. We're talking about Patreon.
Oh, we are absolutely going to talk about Patreon.
Heck yeah, baby, because our Patreon rules.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah. What are some of your favorite bonus episodes, Andrew? Mine, I like the pizza topping one.
No, pizza
just
topping
ran in there and stole that from you.
I did.
It's absolutely the comfort food movies.
Ooh, that's a good
I
one.
love
I
comfort
love
food movies.
Comfort food
Stuff that I can just watch
anytime.
And I could actually probably put Into the Spider-Verse as one of those
that would
films.
fit. Yeah,
Oh,
that
wow,
one
it
would
actually,
definitely be on my list for sure.
Steven?
Oh, you know, all of them are great. I think Presidential Fight Club is still tops for me.
That one was the most like
out there and
we didn't really
different.
prepare a lot
let's do
for
a
it.
Twist here, yeah.
It was like a live reaction to
we
these
just
presidential
ran with
paintings
it.
of like, can we take these guys?
So if you want to find out what we're talking about,
Yeah.
for the low price of $1 a month, that gets you access to all of our bonus episodes, past and present, guaranteed 1 per month minimum.
Yep.
And we are also putting out there, we've got commentaries going out there where you can listen along to our commentary synced with the movie Mystery Science Theater 3000 style.
Yep.
Right now, you can on the cast completely for free. You don't have to have access to the Patreon. You can go listen to Star Wars: Phantom Menace with us.
The commentary for
The
it.
commentary,
Yeah,
yes.
to get a preview to see what it's like for these commentaries. And
Which
then if
we
you like what
also-
you heard, you can hear us go on about the Crystal Skull.
Yeah, Indiana Jones
Indiana
and the Crystal
Jones
Skull.
and the Crystal Skull.
No, we just talk
Get
about
it
the skull,
right.
not the movie.
And if you're curious about any of the episodes we mentioned here that we really liked, if you go back through that feed and look for Patreon preview, we've got previews of a bunch of those out there. You can listen to the first 10, 15 minutes just for a taste before you can decide if your dollar's worth it.
Also, you know what else you can do with that $1? you can voice your opinion on what movie we should review next. Right now, over on Patreon, we have a Patreon Picks poll up.
Yep.
Yes.
And we are talking about 90s quintessential action films.
Yeah.
So we have True Lies,
Yes.
Speed,
Yes.
Demolition Man,
Yes.
and The Rock.
Nailed it.
Right up.
4 bona fide classics.
Classics.
Yes.
So if you get over there right now, for anyone at the $1 tier can vote on and above
Or higher. You
Yeah,
give us more.
if you give us at least $1, you can vote in that. And patrons get early access to those episodes, but they do eventually make it to the main feed. But
Yes.
if you want to guide
Make
the future
your
of this
voice heard.
podcast, then get over there and vote.
Dictate future content.
Yes.
If your dollar is just too precious for you, we understand. There are other ways you can help support us. If you would just share with your friends, with your family, social media, like our post, leave us a review, get us out there. We're trying to move up that algorithm. It's it's tough. We can't.
It's
create a
fighting us back.
Pinterest.
We need your help.
Fighting us back. The battle against the AI.
Yeah. Don't let the AI win.
Join the battle against the AI. Influence it with your vote and your review. Okay, well, on that note, I do believe that is all the time we have for this episode. So until next time, I'm Steven,
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Ryan.
and every spoiler was intended.